It seems if you look on the surface, we're not very similar. We're a city of skyscrapers and relatively new, as most American cities are, compared to European cities. But why was Atlanta chosen?
But I think you are also the city of Martin Luther King.
Right.
And Atlanta is well known for the Martin Luther King Center and for his, I would say, political responsibility in human rights issue. And that's quite good, even when we have a completely different history, of course, Atlanta and Nuremberg, but most of the people in the United States know, if they hear the name of Nuremberg, they have the association with the Nuremberg trials, the Nuremberg laws, the so-called Reichsparteitage. And nowadays we use this dealing with our history to get a city of human rights. And I think we have very interesting contacts with the city of Atlanta on this issue.
I was touring some of the exhibitions yesterday, and we've been hearing a lot about Nuremberg's past. And one of the interesting things was that here in Nuremberg, the laws were passed that legalized discrimination based on race and ethnicity. I was wondering, how do you build from that a city that is now seen as a model for tolerance? And how do you sustain that in the long run with people in their day-to-day lives? Is that something that's in their psyche?
I think it was a long way, of course, because everybody in Germany did not want to talk about the Nazi time in the 50s and still in the 60s. And it's a discussion that started in the 70s of the last century, that we were discussing about our past. We started to think about what happened before the German people wanted to hide away the history. But at this time we knew that we are part of this history, and this history is part of us. The Nuremberg laws are the so-called Nuremberg laws all over the world. Even the Nuremberg trials were the Nuremberg trials. So nobody's thinking first of all about our funny and romantic Christmas market. If he hears the name of our city, they were all thinking about the Nazi party time. So we started to discuss that we have to deal with this. Now I think we are in a good way. We say we take the past, we do the documentation, we inform young people, because people who lived at this time, they were dying. Part by part, we don't have so much possibility still to get oral history from the people. So we have to do the information, especially for young people. That's one line from the past to today. And the other line is the human rights issue. We are trying to looking forward. We are trying to put on the light on other dark sides all over the world where the human rights were deeply violated. And that's what we do with our Human Rights Office and with our International Human Rights Award.
You talked a little bit about this earlier, but the importance of international relationships in the city of Nuremberg. I think you have 17 twin cities? 14, okay. We have 18 in Atlanta. But I feel that sometimes maybe some of them aren't as vibrant as they could be. I was wondering what a twin city relationship really means to Nuremberg, and how do you sustain those ties?
It's different. We have twin city relationships that are more political motivated. We have some that are intensive in cultural exchange. We have some that are intensive only in pupils exchange, schoolboys and schoolgirls that meet each other. We have all these kinds, but I think most important for us is, as a city that is associated with this nationalist party, to be in a global network, to be part of a global network, to have contacts all over the world, especially in Europe, but also all over the world, because in this time of globalization, it's necessary to be part of such international networks.
Do you think that rings more true in Europe than maybe in the US? Because you're so geographically close to a lot of other cities, and two, you share a lot of the same, especially after the war, you share some of the same struggles in history.
maybe it's for the reason of the history. Maybe it's for a simple reason. The countries in Europe are small comparing with the United States. Though in Europe everything is automatically more international. If you go to travel from Germany, you will leave the country. 200 kilometers, 150, 150, you are in another country. So Europe is historically more international than the United States, because you are from the surface greater, bigger.
And in an economic context, do you think these sister cities help you? You're kind of mentioning that, but help you to become more globally integrated? I know that the Shenzhen relationship, some people were saying was more economically motivated.
It's the only one that was economically motivated by, it was Siemens. They were interested to get their foot into the door in China, in developing public transports, railways like this. But also this relationship to Shenzhen started for economic reasons, but now we have a huge cultural contact like this.
I've noticed, even here, being here for the Blaue Nacht, I noticed that culture is so integrated into your economic development strategies. It's not for the purpose of economic development necessarily, but I mean, obviously we saw the commerce going on for the Blue Night. So I was wondering if you could just talk about the importance of culture in building the economy of your city.
I think if you want to be attractive as a city for people, for innovative people, for the creative class, as Richard Florida would say it, you have to be a city full of culture. You need quality of life, you need a huge offer of culture, you need security, you need payable prices for flats, and all this creates an atmosphere for the creative class. So culture is a purpose for itself, but it's also a purpose for being attractive as a city.